Let us continue reading this book by J.A. Wylie, Jesuitism. We are now in chapter 14, part 4. Father in heaven, have mercy and have compassion for us sinners. I pray the Lord that we'll be guided by your Spirit to all truth. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. There is another well-marked but unpleasant peculiarity of the Jesuits, which we must not pass unnoticed. When they have some special villainy in hand, and then it is that they make the loudest professions of amity and goodwill, the Wilkin at these seasons rings with their songs in praise of peace. The blow is generally the first intimation their victim receives that he has been singled out for destruction. History abounds with examples in point. The annals of France are all full of such, and no and not less the records of England. Oaths and treaties, friendships and festivities form the lure which draw the victims of the Saint Bartholomew to the fatal spot where the hideous butchery was to be enacted. When the Babington conspiracy was hatching for the murder of Elizabeth and the setting up of a popish sovereign, the party who had it in hand published a book which overflowed with sweet and charitable counsels that good Catholics were to employ no other arms against their prince but the arms of the primitive Christians, tears and daily prayers. They first attempted to prevent James I ascending the throne of England, and when they found they could not effect their end, they pounded most hypocritically upon him, styling him most puissant prince and orient monarch. They continued to sing this siren song till the king and nation were all but drawn into the abyss of destruction. The deeper their plunges into treason, the louder their professions of loyalty. It was while they were devising the gunpowder plot that they published the Lay Catholics Petition, wherein they protested their fidelity and unfeigned love to His Majesty, offering to be bound life for life with good sureties for their behavior. These faithful and loving subjects were all the while storing barrels of gunpowder by the dozen in the cellar of the Parliament House. And fearful lest their good deeds and loving intents should come too soon to be known, they covered them up with billets and faggots. When all was ready to blow, King and Parliament into the air, Father Garnet was pleased to talk much of bulls and mandates from His Holiness to charge all the priests and their Catholic flocks in England to carry themselves with profound peace and quiet, and to maintain the deception. He sent a messenger to Rome with a letter supplicating that commandment might go forth, staying all commotions of Catholics in England. In a subsequent reign, when they had a prince of their own, James II, upon the throne, with what vehemence did the papists declaim against persecution, and what an outcry did they raise for universal toleration and regard for tender consciences, while all they wished for was tolerance only for so long, a time as should enable them to set up their own religion. And this done, drive conscience and tolerance out of the kingdom, as men do wild beasts when they have subdued a savage country. The memory of every reader will enable him to recall in recent history similar examples of adroitness in the black art of deception, and of ostentatious professions of charity and peaceableness and attention to religious duties just before some outbreak of lawlessness, violence, and treason. Let the reader look at the following picture. Saint Simon, describing in his memoir an interview with Terrer, the confessor of Louis XIV, writes, "I saw him face to face between two candles, there being only the breadth of the table between us. I have elsewhere described his horrible countenance, and all at once, stupefied both in sight and hearing, I comprehended, while he was speaking, all that was implied in the Jesuit, a man who, by his personal annihilation and bound by the vows of his order, could hope for nothing for his family or for himself, and yet, with deliberate purpose and with studied artifice, was about to throw state and church into the most horrific conflagration, and begin the most frightful persecution for questions that mattered not a jot to him. We'll read the next chapter, chapter 15, the expulsions and suppression of the Jesuits. May God have mercy upon us and his Son be gracious towards us. Amen.